hello there.
There have been lots of reports that have already come out about Godzilla x Kong 3. A lot of people have come out to say that they don't believe them. There are, of course, a lot of people who are taking it with a massive grain of salt, as they should be and as most people should. But nonetheless, we have had a lot of kind of hints and details come out about what this film will end up containing. So in this video, we are going to do an updated list of all of the creatures and titans coming to Godzilla x Kong 3 that we know of so far. That includes the potential villain for the film and where the story is set to take both Godzilla and Kong. Spoiler alert, they are both returning to the film, so we can say those are the first two titans that are going to appear in this movie, but we're going to discuss it in this video. If you guys enjoy my MonsterVerse content, then check out my channel, and let's get into it.
The Atomic Fair.
Okay, so yeah, let's just go straight into it, because as I said, the first two titans that are for sure returning to the movie would be, of course, Godzilla, and of course, definitely Kong returning as well. A lot of people are kind of up in arms about that. They want to see a Godzilla-focused movie, but at this point, we can kind of expect Godzilla and Kong to both keep reappearing in the movies until either a box office failure or the collapse of the MonsterVerse, because Legendary is going to keep focusing on those dollar signs, and as long as Godzilla and Kong are both bringing in the bucks together on screen, that is what is going to happen in future MonsterVerse films. Although I think that they should both get solo films before once again teaming up in maybe 5 to 7 years from now. I think that if we are going to continue to see Godzilla and Kong appear in the MonsterVerse, it is what it is, and we're just going to have to accept it and hope that we at least get a big emotional arc similar to the Heisei era for Godzilla in this next film. So we know Godzilla and Kong are both returning, and we can probably assume that Zuko and the Ape Army are going to return as well. That is what early leaks and reports have said about the movie, and has said that not only is Zuko going to return, and not only is the Ape Army going to return, but that they are potentially going to have to face off against an angry Godzilla. Specifically, Kong is going to have to, as he deters him from wiping out humanity, as he's a little enraged of the actions of the world governments as they are potentially looking to invade the Hollow Earth. So we can also say that we are going to be seeing the return of Shimo. That is what early leaks, early reports are saying about the movie. We are set to see the return of Shimo in a pretty big action sequence, which would potentially feature Shimo being, I guess, euthanized or ultimately defeated by the world governments to show the power of these supposed mechanized zombie titans that we may see appear in the movie. So I will say that potential mechanized titans would also be appearing in this movie. That's just what we're going to go off based off the early leaks, and even beyond the leaks, you can look at early reports set by the Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire book saying that the world governments were getting fed up with the titans essentially kind of taking over the planet and using it at their will, destroying cities and whatnot. The destruction that we saw in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, in Godzilla vs. Kong. So right now, that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of thinking that we could see the world governments invade the Hollow Earth and once again create mechanized titans. Whether that's Mecha King Ghidorah, whether that's Mecha Mudos, what we're hearing for sure is that we're going to see skull crawlers also return in this MonsterVerse movie, and not only skull crawlers, but enhanced, potentially mechanized skull crawlers, which is something the MonsterVerse has already kind of set up. They kind of seem to be the cannon fodder of monsters, of titans in this MonsterVerse, where we've already seen skull crawlers get demolished by Kong and Kong Skull Island, where they're kind of the primary antagonists, but then also Godzilla vs. Kong, where they're used to kind of show the power of Mechagodzilla as he completely wipes a updated Skullcrawler off the map. And then we have also seen like super Skullcrawlers appearing in Godzilla versus Kong versus the Justice League, so we can kind of assume that it would make a lot of sense for the Skullcrawlers to once again come back in this next MonsterVerse film. Now we can consider that to kind of be our main cast of characters, but we have to assume that we're also going to have another larger villain, because not only are the first official details about the movie teasing a world-ending cataclysmic threat that Godzilla and Kong are once again going to have to team up against, it's just kind of a staple for these these films. So beyond Godzilla potentially being the so-called villain of the film, where he potentially turns evil, if you want to say that, or at least turns against humanity for the constant interference with, I guess, the balance of nature, and potentially even deeper reasons than that, which I've talked about in other videos. But beyond that, we have to assume that we're going to see another major villain pop up in this movie. Now, I am really hoping that we see a pre-established Toho kaiju once again become the villain of this movie, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they introduce some kind of hybrid winged Godzilla, almost like Zoslahawa, because of all of the hype that people have put on this potential like theory of a titan or creature, who I do think they did tease in previous lore, and they kind of seem to canon the idea of a winged Godzilla. So I could potentially see that being the villain and kind of implementing characteristics of Space Godzilla, and have Zoslahawa be the actual villain, a giant winged Godzilla being the villain of Godzilla X Kong 3. I could see something like that happening. I could see them just saying, hey, we're gonna use Mechagodzilla again with an updated Kiru, with an updated design, Mechagodzilla V2, or Mecha King Ghidorah, or like a Mecha Mudo. I could also see Gigan if they're gonna go the route of mechanized titans. And then there are also people really wanting Biollante or Destroyer. So that is kind of the blanket of potential villains for Godzilla X Kong 3. But nonetheless, we will probably see a new titan introduced as the villain in this film. Whether it's a former Toho kaiju or a completely new villain altogether, we will have to wait and see. But another big tease of a titan that we could see pop up in this movie would be the first appearance of Godzilla Jr. Now, a lot of this was already pre-established from comments that Adam Wingard made about wanting to take Godzilla on a much deeper, much more emotional journey, similar to Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Well, Godzilla vs. Destroyer heavily features a complete character arc, really, for Godzilla Jr. in the film, as he kind of grows into his final form at the end of the movie and takes over as the main Godzilla. So I could really see Godzilla Jr. pop up in this movie, not only from a lore perspective and things and comments that Adam Wingard has made and teased before he stepped down as director for the next movie, but from a marketing perspective, because it would make a lot of sense for them to have a smaller, cute version of Godzilla pop up in the film. They already had it for Kong, kind of with Suko. Well, now it is almost time to introduce Godzilla Jr. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing in this next MonsterVerse film, is the introduction of Godzilla Jr., as well as the return of an epic titan who has been appearing in a lot of previous MonsterVerse films at this point. Honestly, as many as Godzilla and Kong have appeared in almost, and that is Mothra. She seems to be a mainstay of the MonsterVerse, but early leaks and early reports have hinted to the fact that Mothra could potentially be the one to calm Godzilla down in this next MonsterVerse film, once again teaming up with Kong to either all out go into a fight with Godzilla, or at least detain him enough to calm him down and make him kind of see the light a little bit before they team up to once again take down another world-ending cataclysmic threat. Now, expanding outward from that, those are titans that we can kind of almost say for sure are going to pop up in the film. Godzilla Jr. is kind of a little bit on the fence right now, but early leaks and reports have hinted at Godzilla Jr. as well as Adam Wingard. But outside of that, if we are going to see mechanized zombie titans in this next MonsterVerse film, then we have to assume any titan is on the table to reappear in this film and either get killed by the world governments and then reanimated and mechanized, or just reappearing in some kind of conflict. Now, I would think if they do end up doing this, that for whatever reason, I feel like we could just see Behemoth become a mechanized titan that ends up facing off against Godzilla, considering Behemoth is a fan favorite titan, and I'm kind of just going in that order. So I would think maybe Methuselah, maybe, even though Methuselah apparently has a big rights issue, they could maybe change the name of the titan or change the design slightly and still have him reappear in the movie. But there is also Rodan, who we do know is still alive at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, outside of that, we have Lahamu, who is the infant of Tiamat, who we do also know is still alive in the MonsterVerse, as well as Tiamat potentially definitely getting reanimated as a mechanized zombie titan. That is a big one that we have to keep on the table, considering that they already showed Tiamat inside of a tube potentially regenerating. Now, if Tiamat has regenerative abilities, then they would definitely extract those abilities potentially from Tiamat's DNA, however they would do that, and then apply it to these mechanized zombie titans so that they can have regenerative abilities as well. Now, I've seen a lot of fans potentially talking about about the idea of a Muto returning in this movie as well as Gigan, and potentially using a modified Muto to somehow create Gigan. I could see something like that happening, but as I said, we'd have to remember that almost all of the pre-established Titans are on the table to return in this film if it's going to be as big in scale as they're talking about in recent leaks and reports. Now, we also have cutesy Titans like Doug, who would also probably be potentially returning in some way, shape, or form in a scene of the movie. Maybe Doug gets freaking killed by the world governments as a way to enrage audiences and really be rooting for like Godzilla. You know, this could be a morally conflicting film where Godzilla goes on a huge emotional journey with his reactionary attitude towards the world governments. If they invade the Hollow Earth, if they kill Doug, if they kill countless other Titans and use them as mechanized zombies, throwing off the balance of nature, I could definitely see Doug honestly being used as fodder for the world governments to either be killed or utilized and reanimated as a mechanized zombie Titan as well. Now, outside of that, there's only one more new sort of Titan that I could really see being introduced in this movie as well, and that is the return of a character named Trapper. Now, I'm going to touch on this in another video, but I'm thinking that there's a big potential for Trapper to return as Jet Jaguar, or at least could build Jet Jaguar and operate him in a Pacific Rim style fashion, or even maybe create an AI algorithm that ultimately becomes Jet Jaguar, maybe like Ultron, but without becoming evil. This is all a huge potential for Godzilla x Kong 3 and the Monsterverse beyond, considering Trapper already kind of has this kind of personality of being this kind of quirky guy, and Jet Jaguar was kind of a quirky kaiju android sort of robot when he was introduced in the movies. He kind of did silly dance moves and things like that, so I could see Jet Jaguar being introduced and being controlled, piloted, or created somehow by Trapper in a new company, either Monarch or a new company that Trapper is working for that ends up creating Jet Jaguar. On top of that, Trapper also wears a shirt in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire that heavily kind of hints at the color scheme of Jet Jaguar, or maybe it's all just a big coincidence, but fans have really connected the dots and really are hoping that somehow, some way, Trapper returns as Jet Jaguar. So comment down below, guys, let me know what you think. This is kind of the big list of returning Titans, new Titans that could potentially be popping up in this next Godzilla x Kong movie, and I feel like that kind of covers everything. There could be more Titans that pop up in the film, especially if they introduce a cosmic element or want to introduce the idea of space into the movies, but really, guys, I think that this kind of covers all of the bases for potential monsters, potential Titans appearing in Godzilla x Kong 3. So comment down below, let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you think about the early details for Godzilla x Kong 3, as well as early rumors and plot leaks. And for this video, guys, that's all I got. So until the next one, be safe and stay well. Bye-bye.